Thank you, Jennifer. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us here today. I apologize for not being down earlier. I had indicated that I would be down at 2 o'clock, but I think we all thought it was very important that we hear the update and the briefing just provided by the Ottawa Police Service and by the RCMP. And I want to make it very clear at the outset that I have nothing to add to that briefing. I am unable to comment on any aspect of the event that took place in Ottawa or the investigation currently underway by those police services. I did, however, have throughout the day received a number of inquiries about the security arrangements that are taking place here in the City of Toronto in response to the events that are unfolding in Ottawa and on Monday in Quebec. And I believe that it is necessary and appropriate to provide the citizens of Toronto with information regarding the security precautions that are being taken to provide reassurance to all of our citizens. First, let me advise you that there is no specific or identified credible threat to any individual, group, or public institution in Toronto at this time. We are working and have continued to work closely with our partners in the RCMP and CSIS, along with our provincial and local police services in an integrated response to monitor the security threat environment and to conduct national security investigations. This is a long-standing partnership, and it has been characterized throughout by excellent communications and cooperation. In response to events in Ottawa today and in Quebec on Monday, I believe that it is necessary and prudent to put in place enhanced security precautions to ensure the safety of our citizens and of our city. Accordingly, Torontonians will see today and over the coming days a very visible police presence at various public institutions and in public spaces. I have directed today additional police resources to Queen's Park, to Toronto City Hall, to our courthouses, our consulates, as well as government and military facilities. You will see additional uniformed police officers on the subway system and in any place where the presence of the police can reassure our citizens. These steps are being taken through an abundance of caution. Let's remind you again, there is no specific threat, but we will always err on the side of caution in the protection of our citizens. I have asked all of our officers to remain situationally aware and to be vigilant. I would ask all of our citizens for their continued support. If you see something that concerns you, or if you become aware of anything suspicious, please do not hesitate to call, and we will respond. Bear with me just for a second. The Toronto Police Service and all of our citizens stand united along with our public safety partners and with all Canadians in the condemnation of the terrible crimes that have taken place in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu and in Ottawa this week. We all remain firm in our resolve to keep our citizens and our communities safe. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of those who have died. We in the Toronto Police Service will continue to monitor the events in Ottawa, and we will remain in direct communication with our security and law enforcement partners. We will continue to keep the public informed as events and reliable information becomes available. Thank you all very much.
Chief Blair, given what's happened, should we reevaluate security for the Pan Am Games next year?
I can tell you that the preparation for security of the Pan Am Games is very much an ongoing process. And we're taking all information into consideration for that. But I believe there is a situation we are responding to today. I want to reassure all of our citizens that we are working together in a very collaborative and cooperative relationship with the provincial police, with our federal partners, with the security establishment in this country, and with other local police services to look at every event that takes place in the city, every place where there are citizens gathered. We remain committed to keeping those places and those events safe.
These heightened measures, are you worried about copycats?
Well, actually, a number of things. We certainly take the threats and the events that have transpired this week very seriously. And we want to make sure that we are doing everything within our power to respond to any threat that may arise, but also to provide reassurance to our citizens. The type of events that we've seen today in Ottawa and in Quebec on Monday are things that can cause concern, and naturally will cause concern for our citizens. We have a responsibility to reassure them of their safety by being visibly present out there with them and doing everything possible to prevent these things from taking place. As well, I want to assure people that the law enforcement community and our national security partners are working diligently and cooperatively together to respond to any threat that may arise.
Chief, the part of the Malala Yousafzai event was canceled. Is there any reason to believe that there was a threat involved there?
No, I think, again, out of an abundance of caution and, quite frankly, there is a number of very important things that need to be responded to by the government and by the officials involved in that event. And I think, you know, caution is understandable in these circumstances. But again, I'll repeat, there is no known credible threat here in the city of Toronto, but it is a very busy day. And for our government and for our law enforcement officials, and certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to the families, but also to those first responders, those public safety officials that were compelled to respond to a tragic set of circumstances, to the military who have lost one of theirs, again, in a tragic circumstance, and our thoughts and prayers are with them.
Chief, it took a few hours before security was ramped up at City Hall, and here at City Hall it felt like a long time. I mean, there's presumably reasons for it, but why was there that gap between the start of happening?
I might suggest to you, it took a couple of hours for you to notice, but we were responding within minutes.
Chief, a lot of terror experts and security experts are saying it's just a matter of time before Toronto is targeted. And now, with the events in Ottawa, it's close to home.
Well, again, certainly what has transpired in Ottawa today and even earlier this week on Monday in Quebec is cause of great concern for all Canadians in every community. We are vigilant here in Toronto, and we work very closely together. There are a lot of us involved in public safety here in Toronto and in responding to any threat that may arise. And we are working very closely together. We take nothing for granted. We will never be complacent. But at the same time, I think it's very important to be able to reassure the citizens of Toronto. There is no threat in Toronto at this time, but we will not be complacent. We'll continue to do whatever needs to be done to reassure this city and its citizens of their safety.
Are you putting on additional resources so there are more police working today than there were before coming out?
I will tell you I've canceled some leave. I've got some people working overtime. We're making sure that we've got people out there today. Today, I think all Canadians have a sense of unease that their safety has been threatened. And we're out there to reassure them that we stand united and firm in our resolve to keep them safe. And so we'll be out there and we'll be visible and we'll be there as long as we are needed. We also have to look at the events that have transpired in Quebec and in Ottawa this week. And so we're reacting to that. And we are making sure that we are putting those things in place that will make it far less likely that that may happen here.
Chief, what will we see out there? Will we see extra officers in their uniforms, or will we see ETF-style officers out there? What can people expect?
The answer simply, Roger, is yes. You're going to see everything we've got. We're putting all hands on deck. We have certainly assets and resources that we are deploying that you will not see. But I think the visible presence of the police can have two very positive effects. It can deter those individuals who might choose to victimize others, and it can also send a message of reassurance to the public. And I think both of those are important today. Those are important in Toronto, and they're important right across Canada.
Will we see the officers out in heavy gear, though, too, or just more in a casual uniform?
Well, we deploy officers in all forms of gear. My preference is to deploy our officers in uniform, in a soft tactical response, but our emergency task force officers are also present because they've got a role to play in this. And so we'll deploy our resources with the equipment that is needed under the circumstances, and again, to provide both that reassurance and that deterrence that I think is appropriate today.
When you say there's no credible threat, are you talking about possible terrorist threats?
I'm talking about there is no known specific threat against any individual, group, or public institution, but we are not ignoring what has taken place in Quebec and in Ottawa, and we will remain vigilant. And again, I'm not going to comment about any ongoing investigation, and it would not be appropriate to discuss in detail any specific investigation or work that's underway. But I can tell you that we are working very collaboratively together, and I am confident that we have the resources in place, and with the assistance of the public. And let me take again this opportunity to say that we collectively keep our city safe. It is a shared responsibility with all of our citizens, and we rely on our citizens to also be aware of their surroundings, to look out for anything that is suspicious, and to have the confidence to call us and to let us know. And I want to assure them we will take that seriously and we will respond. And it is with the citizens' help, it is with our community's help, that I can be confident that we will be able to keep our city safe.
Chief, for those who are heading to police headquarters or Queen's Park, City Hall, can they
Well, you will see the police present in those places, but we also have to get on with the business of our city and the business of the province, and those public institutions are important places where the business of the city and its citizens takes place. And so we're going to do everything we can to keep them safe. And if any of our citizens attending any of our facilities are concerned or bothered by the additional security arrangements that may be put in place, we ask for their patience and their indulgence. It's for their safety.
What are the specific places, consulates, for example, where ETF will be deployed?
Well, again, there are some consulates that we perhaps might be more concerned than others, and so they will always get our attention. There are certain places where large crowds gather and more threats are known, but again, we're not responding to any specific threat, but we will be working with our partners in the federal policing services to ensure that our consulates remain safe places. It's an obligation that our nation has to those countries with whom we have consular relationships.
Chief, of the 90
arrangements you made with the TTC, for instance.
You know, as you may be aware, the Toronto Police Service has a fairly substantial transit patrol officer. It's a uniformed group of officers who work in our subway system, and we work in partnership with TTC Security. And you will see a very visible presence of our police officers in that system, and it is not in response, as I've said, to any specific threat. I want the people of Toronto who are using our subway system and using every other public space and every other public institution to feel safe. And so we'll be there to reassure them and to keep those spaces safe.
Chief Blair, the RCMP admitted that this attack had taken them by surprise. Is this forcing us to reevaluate our level of preparedness?
Again, I'm not going to comment on any aspect of the events that have transpired in Ottawa or in Quebec this week. But I can tell you we work around the clock and have been for many years, working together to investigate any suspicious activity, to do everything in our power to keep our citizens safe, and we'll continue to do so.
Chief, of the 90 Canadians that RCMP CSIS are watching, how many of them are in Toronto?
And again,
In the Toronto area?
I'm sure you'll understand why I'm not going to answer that question. But again, let me reassure you, we're working well together, and we're doing our very best to stay on top of it with all the resources we have available to us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much. It's a difficult day for our country. It's a difficult day for all of our citizens. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to provide them with reassurance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes today's conference.